Hi. Hi, my name is Adam, and I identify with any, all pronouns, and gender-wise, I would say gender fluid. The first time I came out, it was to my mom. I think it was like around 2018-ish, and at the time, I was like very mentally ill, very depressed, all of this stuff. And I remember I was pretty much just sitting in her office at home, and I was just like bawling out because I had a crush on this guy and I just like did not know how to communicate this at all. And it's really funny to me in hindsight because at this point I'm just like, that's the usual, you know what I'm saying? Like at the time I, had pretty much tried to like communicate to her why I was so depressed without like getting to the point of like I have a crush on a guy. And then at some point I just had to like let it out, and I pretty much just explained how I was feeling. This person in the back of my mind already knew that everything was, going to be fine with this, but it's still just like scary when you're walking into the unknown and your preconceptions of how people are going to react could just be so much different than what they are. But everything turned out fine. I'm definitely very privileged to have that experience where everything just works out fine. The second time I came out, so I went to like a residential treatment facility, which is kind of like rehab-ish, but there were people for drugs there, but I was there for like suicidality, depression, all of this jazz. And it was kind of through there that I came to terms with like who I am and then all of the other issues going on inside of my brain. I would say like this experience is like it's somewhat unique in the fact that I wasn't in the real world where I was learning to love myself. I was definitely in this isolated area where, there were safety walls up for me to become that. So I'm definitely privileged in that regard. But I remember after coming to terms with who I was and how I felt, it was just a very liberating feeling. It was just like just taking all the weight off of your shoulders and just, I don't know, it felt like I was walking into a new world to rediscover and new relationships to rethink about. So yeah, after I got out of residential treatment center, I pretty much just made an Instagram post that was like, I'm gay now and I don't care about you if you don't like that. So, high school, that was fun. I was still depressed, so that didn't it didn't immediately change everything, but it was very nice to look around and be like, she knows, she's about that, she got it. Fortunately, a lot of my loved ones and people in my life were very open arms about this. I think the biggest thing was choosing to walk towards the people that wanted me to be myself and acknowledging that there will always be people that are going to think that they know better than you about who you should be, and just learning to accept that and walk away from that. Okay, so this isn't really practical advice. But one thing, so I would say the best advice I can give is just fucking move. You gotta move somewhere else that supports you. And I know that's never just a financially stable option for most people to just move. I think it's a very wild feeling when you're growing up and you think you know how the world works, and when you move into a society that just acts and behaves completely different, or just a community that values things completely different than your own, it changes how you see the world. And this was also the biggest thing for me recovering with suicide and depression of all that. It's just fucking move. You gotta go somewhere else. Because my reasoning was so I don't want to be here, and I was I don't want to be here alive, but I've never lived outside of suburbia. There's so many things you just gotta try before you put the nail in the coffin. So I would say that was don't anyway, this is another thing that I learned, is that typically when people are homophobic, that homophobia is just misguided misogyny. I think a homophobe would hate a straight man wearing a dress more, and a straight man who's super femme a lot more than a big like muscly gay man who still embodies masculinity. And I think that's a big thing, is when you realize that like the entire world wants to stop you from being feminine and from letting femininity thrive. It's like a nice like fuck you to the rest of society. So that's my tip, is be feminine. It's fun. I think there was a certain point in my life where I needed validation from music and musical artists, and just media in general helped me come to that point. But I think I use music and consume music and write music for more of a emotional thing rather than sexuality wise. I would say like the most recent thing in terms of the arts helping me find community was like just general queer music scenes, like hyperpop scenes, like other just scenes. I think in music where sometimes you're kind of feeling pressured to not do a lot of tropes or cliches because things are cringe, like finding scenes where everyone's just like fuck it, we ball and just do whatever is really nice. I think for a lot of other people, hearing stories or listening to lyricism about queerness and queer lifestyle is really helpful. So you should check out Nayeli's new track. Oh, you didn't toss it. Are you good at caching? Woo! Y'all should have seen that. Oh, with one hand. Look at me go.